There is a King Yun mountain in Zhujia village under County T, City F, Province F. There are lush forests and grasses in the mountains. If you are not a local, you can't find a path up the mountain. On the top of the mountain, there is a Taoist temple called Sanking Taoist Temple. Its age is too undeniable. It is only known that when the Zhou family ancestors moved here to avoid disaster, it was already built on King Yun Mountain. The ancients respected ghosts and gods, so the incense has never been broken. Even today, Ri has risen and fallen several times, but it is still there. Jessie Zhou stood at the door and took a closer look. What was in front of him was a dilapidated Taoist temple. It was a pity that the vermilion gate and the green ceramic tiles were all gone. The Zuman paint has faded, and the green tiles are full of cracks. Pushing the door open, I saw a three-legged tripod standing in the middle. The tripod was filled with wooden sticks left after the incense burned out. Ding Kao is a small room, which is dedicated to the three purity gods, and there are several wing rooms where people used to live in the future. Now it is unpopular. Jessie Zhou smiled helplessly, but his mouth was full of bitterness. It was like this before, and it is still like this now. You haven't changed, and I haven't changed, hee hee. Jessie Zhou whispered. He stretched out his hand to take out the cigarette from his pocket, held one in his mouth, took out the fake Zippo lighter to light the cigarette, took a deep breath and exhaled, looking up at the sky 45 degrees. A gust of wind blew past and rolled up the yellow leaves on the ground. The image of a deeply decadent man emerges spontaneously. At this time, there was a loud noise in the sky, and a bright light ran out, and then another gossip pattern seemed to burst an invisible barrier and hit the light in front. Thinking that the soul will be attached to this little to run away? Even if you sacrifice to the greater self, you will be destroyed, said the gossip master. No, the bright light in front of you got the lunch. Of course, there is also the previous Zhexi Zhou. Before he died, he thought of a sentence, sure enough, don't pretend to be struck by lightning. You are not deceiving me. Why is it a bit like cultivation, the scene is a bit too grand, or something like a cosmic emperor fighting a justice man, and then leaking some oil and water, I ended up dizzy and went through. It makes sense. Zhou Zhexi nodded. Talked to himself. Hey, what's going on? In fact, it is simple, that is, when Zhou Zhexi went to the mountain to pretend to be a Taoist temple, a bright light came up in the sky and hit him. After he woke up, he returned to his old house in his hometown to find that he had crossed. Why was it confirmed so quickly? It was because as soon as he got home, he saw the little nephew who was still looking for him to eat, and he returned to his sister's belly. After saying hello, he immediately went back to his room, filling up the paragraph above. Hee hee, Jessie Zhou could only smile stupidly. No matter what the future is, at least he is very happy now. What is rarer than winning the lottery has fallen on him. What else can't come? Hee hee, Zhou Jessie was thinking stupidly. After experiencing these, the big waves of passion, weird happiness, and even the strongest Jing god could not stand it, Zhou Zhexi lay on the bed and fell asleep. Mother Zhou came in and saw her son lying on the bed, frowned, and walked over to help Zhou Jessie cover the quilt. Looking at her son's face, Zhou's mother showed a worried god. Regarding her son's work and his son's future, she, who came from an ordinary background, could not get too much welfare for her son. She is worried that her son is not working, she is also worried that his son has a job, and she is worried that his son is not working at home. It seems contradictory, but it actually contains a strong mother's love. Seemingly ordinary, but so broad. It's a pity, it just makes people a little unbearable. Zhou Zhexi always said in her heart. After a while, Zhou's mother turned around and walked out of the room. When the door closed, Zhou's mother seemed to see a sudden light on Zhou Zhexi's body, and then looked at it again, feeling that it might be the light coming out of the window behind her son. Without thinking, I closed the door. Of course, Jessie Zhou, who was tired and fell asleep, could not find out what had happened to her. In his dream, Jessie Joe had a strange dream. In the dream, he found a group of little people with wings. They should be little demon Jing, their ears are a bit pointed, they are little demon Jing. Halo, what kind of person is this? Dreaming is so shameless. I saw those little demon Jing, who looked at Jessie Joe nervously, as if he were some wild beast. What kind of expression? It looks like a thief. I look like my brother. Jessie shouted. The little demon Jing people over there are even more nervous. Individuals, looking back, the gods are panicked, like a high school student at a critical moment. Suddenly someone knocks on the door to come in, wanting to stop but not reconciled. That God, I just want to hurry up. Hey, surrounded by layers of little demon Jing, a dazzling green light suddenly flashed, and the group of little demon Jing became nervous, and some of them showed desperate gods. When Jessie Chu's mind moved, there were ghosts, there must be ghosts. The Chinese people under the big wave of online novels are not afraid of ghosts and heretics. That can only prove that they have adventures. Even if they come to a nuclear spokesman, maybe can become a new human being and master special abilities. So think twice before acting. Caution is the eldest son of wisdom. All things are left behind. Without thinking about it, he rushed towards the group of demon Jing, and the group of demon Jing, when he saw Jessie Joe rushing over, he said inwardly. The spell, bang sounded, and Jessie Joe felt as if he had hit the wall, a little dizzy. Cowherhu, you wait for an to guard against the sky. Jessie shouted out, saying that dreams are all section after section. This would be knocked out of Jessie's dream of martial arts. Look at me to drop the 18 palms of the dragon. Suddenly a group of golden dragons gathered around and flew towards the demon Jing group, and also hit the invisible wall, and a small crack suddenly appeared on the wall. Hey, useful, come again. To Thagata palm, a big palm flew towards the wall, and suddenly another crack appeared. Okay, 3 points returned to vitality. Sad palm, tantric handprint, tortoise style qigong, world king boxing, dong dongbo, sky lightning strike, Tianma meteor boxing, forgiveness of the goddess of dawn, Lushan Bei Longba. The wall held up by the group of little demon Jing on the opposite side was already full of cracks, and the little demon Jing's faces were also pale. The treasures the little demon Jing were about to hide also showed more brilliance, and Jessie Joe was even more excited when he saw it. Hey, it seems that it's going to be dying, so let's do a big trick. Mine. The big stick is already hungry and thirsty. Eat my old Monday stick and hit it. The giant sticks in the sky gathered and formed. Well, I won't describe the details of the sticks. Everyone knows it. A stick swayed at the little demon Jing, and instantly broke the giant wall, and the shock wave also blew the little demon Jing away. Ha ha, ha ha. Jessie Joe laughed, but it was a villain. For a while, the shining treasure came into the hands of Jessie. Hey, it would be fine if I was like this just now. Jessie Joe was immediately embarrassed, but after another thought, how could it reflect the greatness of my uncle? Hey! Looking at the thing in my hand, it looks like a green crystal shining green light, which makes people eat it, let alone whether it can be eaten or not, but it really feels like I want to swallow it in one bite. I really want to eat it. Jessie looked at the emerald and skipped the question of whether it could be eaten or not, thinking about eating it like this. Frying, deep frying, stuffing, boiling, roasting, Jessie Joe changed the way to get out the pots and pans. The above steps have been carried out. There is no response. Jessie Joe tilted her head and looked at it thinking, do you recognize the master with a drop of blood? Forget it, just eat it. Thinking of it, he just picked it up. When the crystal entered the stomach, a wave of 365 degrees suddenly dissipated. After a while, it seemed to bounce back, and Jessie also shrank into a small spot. At this time, the world of Jing God was blank, and only the little thing was emitting light. Jessie Chu's room. At this time Jessie Jo shuddered suddenly, and woke up leisurely. I felt like there was something in my mind, and a moment of thought passed on to Jessie Jo, but it was incomplete, making it even more confused. However, Jessie Chu's face was full of surprises. Hee, it's not a dream, it's really a surprise. Sometimes luck can't stop it. The world is so wonderful, hee. Jessie was happy. Smirked. Into silently, Jessie Jo disappeared in the room strangely, and suddenly appeared in the room again. Haha. That's how it turns out, entry and exit are all based on ideas, enter as you want, leave as you want, wait a moment and try the time ratio. According to the previous life novel, there should be a time ratio or something. Jessie Jo was talking to herself. Then I got to work, took the old alarm clock in the room, and adjusted the time to the same time as on the phone. I entered the space again, and then I was free to take a look at this space, and at a glance, I saw a big tree that was grounded to the sky. The big tree is a bit like a banyan tree with many vertical heels from the branches. Some of the roots form small at the bottom, which is a small tree house, in which lives the little demon Jing that Jessie Jo dreamed of. It can be seen that the roots are the little demon Jings, the little houses that they weave. At this time, the demon Jings are hiding in the house and secretly looking at him. The leaves of the big tree are blue cat's ears, the stems are bright green, there are no fallen leaves under the trees, and the surrounding land is glowing with a layer of light. There are no plants on the land, and it looks empty. Outside the fluorescent land circle is a water circle. The land outside the water circle is of ordinary style, and the periphery of this layer of land is a void. The face of the entire outer land looks about 4 or 5 acres. The land under the big tree looks the size of 2 football fields. The outer river is about the same width as the Olympic track. I don't know where the water inside is the starting point. Where is the end point? That's how it goes around anyway. Jessie Jo appeared next to the river in a flash, and looked at the water of the river. There was nothing but water in it. In this space, Jessie felt that he was the master. As a result, his mind moved, and the flowing water seemed to have a walkway and became an arch bridge, staying on it and then flowing down. But it didn't last for a few seconds before he returned to the original state. At this time, Jessie Jo sat down on the ground and lay down with her body, panting in her mouth, her head pale. The sweat kept coming out, and the eyes were extremely red like congestion. Cheating, cheating. These words reverberated in my mind. By the way, Jessie Jo, after trying the sense of control he felt, was falling into infinite regret. Why? Why am I? Headache, collapse, weakness, all in all uncomfortable. Jessie Jo was lying on the ground, unable to move anymore. She didn't even have the strength to hook her fingers. I just came here for a while, why the energy of the whole body has been exhausted. Jessie was really confused, and could only jump out, this is unscientific. Jessie thought helplessly. There was silence in the fabulous garden at this time, and only Jessie Jo was lying on the ground in a big font. Suddenly there was a wave of fluctuations. It was not felt by the eyes and ears. It was just the sense of control from the cheating father that moved me. Slowly flew towards him, flew over the land, flew over the river, and came to Jessie. It flew very low and looked a little horrified, but the stubbornness and determination in its eyes penetrated, just looking at Jessie Jo for a while, bowing to the ground, and saying something. However, Jessie did not understand, an unknown language, anyway. He would not judge from the grammar, pronunciation, and other things. What is the origin of this language? Suddenly, Jessie Jo felt it as if there was something in her mind. Anyway, she understood the words of the little demon Jing who worshipped 1 meter away from her. Please forgive your ignorant, lowly, and lowly servant, respect your noble master, please forgive your ignorant, lowly, weak, and lowly servant. The little demon Jing muttered and said now. Jessie Jo now understands everything. Little demon Jing, come here. Zhouja Xi said weakly. Little Demon Jing stopped moving and looked up at Jessie Zhou. At this time, there was a big question mark in his head. Are you calling yourself? Shouldn't it be? Master and me are the only ones here. Why are you in a daze? It's you, hey. Come here, Jessie Zhou said weakly. Why are you so stupid, so stupid? Jessie Zhou thought unscrupulously. Yes, yes, Master, I'm here, here. The little demon said in horror. Before it was finished, it was surrounded by a force and sent to Zhouja Xi. This feeling is still useful. Tell me what is going on. Tell me what you know. Zhouja Xi said. The bound little demon Jing looked at Zhi Zhou in horror, then bowed his head and said everything he knew. It turned out that this place used to be the site of a strong man. Later, it seemed that a war broke out and the strong man died. This place was also shattered and became such a small place now, and the things that Jessie Zhou swallowed in his dream belonged to the former strong man, that is, the owner of the little demon Jing, is his core. He can understand the primordial spirit, the golden core, the Godhead, etc. Anyway, there is no explosive body after eating, nor it's changed so much. So it shouldn't be an advanced thing either. At that time, the little demon Jing wanted to protect this leftover thing, so they wanted to prevent Jessie Zhou from approaching it, but I didn't know if I wanted to protect it or take it for myself. Anyway, the little demon Jing said that loyalty is the main thing, and it is a last resort to use a praying man's arm as a car, and it is wrong to try to block the righteous master. Now I want to surrender the new owner, and I hope that the owner will treat the prisoners preferentially. As for Jessie Zhou's current appearance, she was exhausted because she tried to change the law of operation of the river of vitality. If you get some water in it, nothing is wrong, but don't try to change it, because Jessie Zhou is not strong enough. It's like a knife, yes, it belongs to you, but if you don't know how to play it, it may still hurt yourself, and it will inevitably bleed and break your skin. This space used to be an extremely large space, but now it is a small space, but little demon Jing only knows that it used to be very luxuriant, with a lot of plants, and they are all delicious, and there are some fruit trees, which are very vibrant, but now there are only them and the mother tree. The mother tree in the space is a barrier to support the space. Under the mother tree is the place of vitality, the river is the vitality, and the periphery is the land of fertility. There is also a group of little demon Jing, living under the mother tree. The height of the mother tree is the height of the space, about 30 meters away, anyway, it's high enough. Well, I see, then you are the representative? You want to take refuge in me? Zhouja Xi looked at it with tilted eyes. Yes, my respected master. We pray for your forgiveness. Little Jingling said. Then what's the use of you? We will take care of plants. We are natural plant experts. We used to do this too. Look at food, look at fruit trees, deal with pests, pruning branches, etc., and we can take care of all this for you. The little demon Jing proudly said. Wait, stop talking, you will do this. Little more can magic. The little demon Jing shook his head. Elementalization, can it work? The little demon Jing shook his head. Can you control plants? Little demon Jing nodded this time. The Jing head of Jessie Zhou gradually recovered, and she felt much better looking at little demon Jing. Then how do you control it? Tell the master that we can control the growth of plants and improve them so that they grow better and mature faster. Little demon Jing said. Except for these, which can control plant attacks, what? Zhouja Xi said eagerly. The little demon Jing blushed and said, Master, we are peace-loving Jing spirits. We used to take care of this. We were not responsible for fighting. Jessie Zhou looked at it. It can't fight, what did it do when it stopped me? Jessie Zhou said sarcastically. That is our defense in the world of Jing God, which is the same as you. But that is your world of Jing God. We are not worth mentioning. Your existence is extremely great. We actually compete with you. We. Stop, the flattering is pretty good, here it is. Okay, I probably know what I mean. Then you can tell me what I am going to do now, and I can talk about it in a long time. How should I move? Jessie Joe said helplessly. The little demon Jing knelt down in fear and said, "It's my negligence, great master. You only need to take some vital water to drink and eat a leaf of the mother tree, and you will be fine." Jessie Joe brought the water by herself, and the little demon Jing took off a leaf with a painful expression. When the leaf was taken off, Jessie Joe suddenly had heart palpitations. It felt like something was missing. Feel good. When the water is drunk and the leaves are eaten, Jessie feels that her physical strength is slowly recovering, much faster than when she is lying on the ground. It is a kind of slow growth that you can feel the Tao. Lie down for more than an hour, slowly moving from the upper body to the lower body, and Jessie Joe can already walk around. This leaf and this water seem to be a good thing, but it seems that this leaf can't be picked casually. Only one piece is picked, and there is a feeling of heart palpitations, and this space is still supported by this tree. If it is picked, it's not bad luck that the space can't hold up in the future, and I don't know what the consequences will be. And this space is very similar to the plant space in the popular country novels later. You can grow things and raise things. Hehe, it seems to me. Lao Zhou's lucky RI is here. Thinking of the future RI, Jessie Joe couldn't help showing a burst of smiles, and her mouth was a little cracked. Turning his head to look at the little demon Jings, now a group of them have flown over, standing neatly on the ground, a total of 132, this is the correct number that Jessie has obtained through space. You can rest assured in the future, my Jessie Joe is not a stingy person. The previous one was exposed, and I will not pursue it anymore. Now I grant you the right of residence, and I will grow things here in the future. I'm here to take care of the things I plant. If you have any questions, I will bring them up now, and I will consider them as appropriate. Jessie looked at them formally and domineeringly and said. The little demon Jing was happy at first, and then wept. They were messed up for a while, and finally the little demon Jing who had just come out to see Jessie Joe stood up, on behalf of everyone agreed. Then the little demon Jing all saluted Jessie. Yelled loudly, "Meet the master!" Jessie gave a hum, and agreed. You don't want to call the master in the future. I will be like a slave owner. I will call the boss, younger Joe, and big brother. It seems to be in the novel. It's pretty bad. Yes, hey, Jessie Joe suddenly had a flash of inspiration, thinking of some vulgar movies, a feeling of mischief came up, and the corners of her mouth smiled secretly, hee. From now on, you will call me the Lord first, and you will change it if you think of something better in the future. Do you understand? The little demon Jing shouted in unison, "It's the Lord, I will understand it later." Well, Jessie Joe nodded and smiled. Suddenly, his head popped up, "Do you want to change them to Chow and then call me the fifth master? It's a pity that I was ranked fifth at home. If my mother gave me birth earlier, or it would be cool to give birth to a few more, hee." Thinking that Jessie Joe didn't consciously smirk again, it was so vulgar, it was poisoned by that mango stand. If his mother knew that Jessie Joe was thinking at this time, she would have killed this unfilial son. The little demon Jing saw Jessie Joe smirking, and black lines appeared on their heads. If this person was not the owner of the others, he really wanted to beat him up. This smile is so sensational. Up. After being sober, Jessie Joe suddenly felt that her performance was a bit embarrassing. So he coughed awkwardly, and said to the little demon Jing, "I'm going out now, you guys go to rest first, next time I bring things in and look around." "Yes, little lord, I'm waiting to retire." Jessie Joe also flashed out. Jessie Chu's room was empty at this time. Suddenly he moved like a ripple. When someone came out, he looked around and checked the alarm clock he set and compared his watch. He found that the time difference was about 10 times that of the time difference. Left and right, just count as 10 times. If it is too detailed, we are not a mathematician, so there is no need to make it so clear. After reading the time comparison, Jessie Joe kept going in and out again. It was a joy to play. It was like a child who had just received a gift. It must be played, and there is another similarity, that is, 3 minutes of heat. No, it didn't take long for him to feel bored after playing, and he felt quite silly. It seemed like this. In fact, the demon Jing in the space can't stand it for a long time. There were dense black lines all over the head, but no one was surprised to say anything, saying bad things about the boss, that is, lighting the lamp in the hut and looking for death. Although they don't have this Chinese Jing sentence, they still understand the truth. It may be that there is a lot of going in and out, and it is quite exhausting. Jessie Joe at this meeting is also a little bit embarrassed. What's more, after so many changes, Jessie Joe can keep like this. It is enough to explain how thick is his nerve. So he lay in bed again and went to sleep. The sun set in the west, and the east rose again. This time Jessie Joe was a deep sleep, and he almost didn't let his family get to the hospital. Fortunately, his eldest brother-in-law came out and talked about it. Tired, the parents at home didn't wake up no matter how they called, so his parents sent him to the hospital. Who knew that he would be fine when he arrived at the hospital? The doctor said it was caused by being too tired, so he took some nutrition in the hospital and slept. I woke up. Fortunately, the old doctor was not bad at the time. He didn't charge any arbitrary fees, otherwise he would have to give Dazai a return. However, the ambulance fee, hospitalization fee and water bills also cost hundreds of yuan. Father Joe listened and observed it, because there was no need to spend the wronged money, and his son's breathing was normal. But Joe's mother disagreed. The children are the mother's heart. You can earn money if you don't have any money. What should you do if you don't have the child? Just because this Joe's mother patted the table, pointed at Joe's father and cursed, "Joe Guangzhu, you don't want a son and I still want it. If you don't want to send it to the hospital, if you don't want it, you will feel sorry for the $2. You don't even want your son. You. It's not his father. You are such an old man, Joe Guangzhu, you." Dad Joe is very hot when he hears it. There is no disaster. Why doesn't he love his son anymore? It's just such a boy. He still has a son. How can I give it to me? Either the economic conditions are limited, or the son wants to fly to the sky, he would like to buy him a plane. So he also replied, "Guo Xiangmei, you are unreasonable to make trouble. What are you talking about? I don't love it anymore. I'll just say it and have a look. There is no need to spend some wronged money. Look at what you said. Ah, you have seen me like this for decades. You have seen me Joe Guangzhu like this." Father Joe also said with a red neck. The two usually have a good relationship, but Joe's mother became a little irrational when she met her son. The two quarreled without warning. Several daughters hurriedly came up to fight. The eldest sister also said that it was the eldest brother-in-law's fault. "What do you say? You said so well. Talk back. In this case, the more you say it, the more wrong it gets." And the youngest daughter of the eldest sister's first birth cried when she saw the situation, and the child of the second sister also cried. The scene became more and more complicated. Seeing this situation, the second sister had no choice but to make a special move, so she said, "Ah, my stomach, my stomach, my stomach hurts." The second sister suddenly said while supporting her pregnant belly. Seeing this situation, the second brother-in-law was very nervous, so he hurried over to help, and said nervously, Wife, are you okay? Wife, you can't be okay." The second sister looked at her husband's face in front of her, and she gave him an eye on her. The second brother-in-law is not stupid either, he immediately relieved his mind after seeing the situation, but shouted louder. Seeing that something was wrong, Joe's father and Joe's mother stopped. Only the eldest sister was still talking about her eldest brother-in-law, and kept arguing. At this time, Father Joe hurriedly leaped domineeringly and shouted, "Enough, what is the noise? I haven't seen the second sister is giving you a stomachache, stop it." Daughters, they were all depressed at this time, even Joe Mew couldn't help but smile. Father Joe also reacted at this time, but he couldn't laugh anymore, or it would be even more embarrassing. As soon as the crowd was about to come around, they pleaded guilty to Mother Joe, "Don't get too close, don't get too close, let the pregnant woman breathe. The second sister comes, and exhale," Mother Joe said with a serious face. The second sister took a few breaths, then stopped pretending, saying that there was nothing wrong. Everyone stopped and did it for a while. When Jessie Joe was sleeping soundly in the room, she always felt that there were a lot of ducks and flies in her ears. They were noisy and tossing. She woke up within a few moments and heard the noise outside. Why is it so noisy in Lenovo's dream? Sure enough, a woman, sometimes the analogy is quite correct. He shook his head helplessly, put on his shoes and prepared to go out to have a look. When Jessie Joe walked out, the quarrel was over. Everyone was sitting. Seeing this situation, Jessie Joe was also a little clouded, not knowing what was going on. "But I don't know if I can ask," Jessie Joe asked, complaining a little bit, "What are you doing? It was so noisy just now. This is going to be so quiet again? I'm so hungry if I can eat, I really want to oversleep." "No, you don't even call me for dinner. It's too much." "Call? Why didn't you call? I think you are sleeping stupid. You don't know how long you sleep? You can sleep like this without a pig. If you don't know, you think you are hibernating. One day and one night, how to shake? Even if you don't wake up, tell me if you were a pig demon, ah." The tempered third sister got angry and said loudly to Jessie Joe. The eldest sister and the second elder sister also followed up, and the third elder sister stood up again after she was puzzled by what she said, and then she started talking, blaming Joja Igzi about the quarrel. Seeing this situation, Joja Igzi quickly tried to divert her attention. Immediately walked over to care about the belly of the second sister, and the little baby inside. At the same time, I gave the fourth sister a glance, and the fourth sister only returned a helpless look. He slapped his second sister and eldest sister again, but neither of them helped him this time, and the two brother-in-laws also looked helpless. Finally, I gave Joe's mother a wink. Joe's mother couldn't stand her son pretending to be pitiful, and her heart softened. He said to the third sister, "Sister, forget it, your brother didn't mean it, he might be too tired. Don't blame him for this. Mom, just pet him and see how he looks like, tired. Why didn't I see that he was tired? How can he do anything besides eating, playing and sleeping? I'll give him." It didn't take long to find the job, and the eldest sister and the second elder sister, he just didn't cherish what they were looking for. Either choose this or choose that. What else do you want if you graduated from high school? The third sister also said everything enthusiastically, saying everything she didn't usually say. "Enough, youngest." The eldest sister and the second sister intervened. "He is only a few years old, so you can't help but say this. I can still raise him now, and I will go in the future, and you don't need you to support your brother? I left the house for him, and we will add some more when the old house is demolished in the future. Money, get a facade, no matter what is enough to eat. If you don't want to take care of your brother in the future, you just say, I don't embarrass you." Joe Mew said suddenly with a deep face. The third sister panicked when she saw this. "Mom, I didn't mean that. I just don't want to watch him become nothing. How can he survive in this society in the future? If the society changes, it will change. How can it be a guarantee for him to have a skill in the future?" Several other sisters also quickly persuaded, "Mom, the third child, and the third sister didn't mean that. You know she has such a violent temper. At this time, Zhi also quickly persuaded him, and she used to be in front of Zhou's mother and kept showing her cuteness. In fact, Jessie Zhou and several sisters still have a very good relationship. They had difficulties in the previous life. They had no second words, and they tried their best to help him. Moreover, he was also at this time, and he really couldn't be said to be good. Later, he realized that he went out and started to work steadily, but the society is still too cruel, college students are not good at mixing, let alone him. No matter how good they are not promoted. There are always some related households occupying high positions. The ability of non-related households is better than him, and the flattering is better than him, not to mention the academic qualifications, and higher than him. Yet, I didn't get out of it just like that. I finally came back. It's enough to keep this property. I surf the internet at home, sex, gunmen, and write novels. I mix full attendance and a little bit of VIP at a certain point, anyway. He has a lot of time, so he lives the life of an otaku. All day long, YY is made in YY. But now it's different. Even though he couldn't do anything in his previous life. With space, even if he doesn't know what lottery tickets or stocks are, he will be able to live well in the future by relying on space. Think about the future. He is now full of confidence. In fact, whoever has no ambition, who doesn't want to eat, drink, live well, make money without working, think of those beautiful women, those famous cars, those villas, yachts and airplanes. We eat healthy food and breathe in fresh air. Let's take a look at what the air looks like in big cities in China. Those with money build villas in the suburbs, buy villas in the countryside, and go to other cities. Needless to say, it is batch by batch. Who doesn't want such a life, but there is no such opportunity and luck. Zhou's mother persuaded everyone to have a step down, so she went down the slope. Okay, I'll get you some food, and sit and wait. Then Zhou's mother got up and went to the kitchen. Seeing this situation, Zhou's father said to Zhou Zhixi, "Tell me what's going on." Of course Jessie Zhou can't tell the truth. It's not a question of trust or trust. It's better not to know some secrets. The more people know, the less insurance. Who knows if something will happen? This secret Jessie Zhou intends to keep it for the rest of his life. Basically, he won't say it if he is killed. He doesn't want to get into the laboratory to keep researching, and his family will definitely be implicated at that time, which is not good for anyone. Jessie Zhou sorted out her thoughts a little bit, thinking about how to make it decent. Her mind is like a full-powered engine, but just thinking about it, it won't turn on. Zija? What do you want to say? Where did you want to go? The elder sister said. Ah, yes, I read a Qigong exercise on the internet that day, and I tried it. It said that I should practice continuously at midnight and absorb the moonlight until I feel the sense of breath, otherwise I will not practice overnight. The training was in vain, so I practiced secretly for a few days. Yesterday I couldn't stand it anymore and fell asleep. Jessie Zhou blushed and said, but I don't know if he blushed in lie or embarrassment. Anyway, they thought he blushed in embarrassment. You believe it, what age is it? Elder sister said, you tell me, what do you want me to say about you? Second sister, hee, I won't comment on this matter, but you still have perseverance. It will be fine if you can use it for business in the future, the third sister said with a sneer. Zija, is there any reaction? Sister Siu. I asked you to practice boxing with your cousin at the beginning. You didn't think it was too hard, but now you do it yourself. What if something goes wrong? You want to me off with your mother. You won't be allowed to practice anymore. Father Zhou said with a grimace. Isn't it okay for me? Jessie Zhou murmured in a low voice. Father Zhou stood up quickly. Ah, I promise not to practice in the future. I promise. Jessie Zhou quickly promised to arrive. At this time, Father Joe's face looked a little better, but he also made a hum before sitting down. Several older sisters also complained about Jessie Joe one by one, but Jessie Joe did not have any emotions, because he knew that those who would say him were also people who cared about him, not as good looking as some people said. In fact, the mainland Lee still doesn't know what to do to dig a corner and dig his ancestral grave. After eating, Jessie Joe was almost ashamed, so he went back to the room. This is the ancestral home of the Joe family in the countryside. Father Joe's generation has 7 brothers and sisters, 4 boys and 3 daughters. Father Joe is the eldest son and the eldest grandson. There are also a few younger siblings below. Okay, I'm all this year old, and I'm going to save myself in the future. This is not clear, conflicts affect harmony, and that's what old people don't want to see. So at that time, it was divided. Since Father Joe didn't live in the village, he didn't need any land, not to mention that he was the eldest son, so he had to inherit the ancestral house and some antiques. The 2nd and 6th are no longer in the village. They bought houses in other places, so they took gold, silver, and antiques. The 3rd child's family is in the village, so he takes all the antiques, and the 3 daughters also took some gold and silver jewelry. The Joe family was also a big landlord before. It was an official in the Qing dynasty of the Republic of China. This history can be traced back to the 5 chaotic eras of China. There were officials in all dynasties and dynasties. It was considered a big clan, but the dynasties changed several times. Some branches moved back, and some moved away. The 3 branches passed down from the Qing dynasty are left in the village. Because of the war, the ancestral home was destroyed at that time, so some branches were also broken. Later, the Republic was established. After a long period of peace, some people came back to recognize their ancestors. In Zhujiacan, I know that there are many surnames Joe from the first name. Joe is indeed the common surname. There are also a few sporadic surnames. This time the family came back because they happened to compile a genealogy, and several daughters happened to have them. Sora, wanting to breathe in some fresh air, came with his family. Fortunately, the ancestral house was big enough, and Joja Xie's family also lived in it. Early in the morning at Zhujia village in Zhujia village, Joja Xie, who had been awake a long time ago, couldn't help but get up. After eating the millet porridge cooked by Joe's mother early in the morning, she went out. The 3rd sister also said that he slept a lot yesterday, and got up so excited today. Jessie Joe went to the door and took a deep breath, feeling that her entire lungs were refreshed. The air in the country was good, there was no pollution, and there was no waste gas in the city. There is an unspeakable nostalgia while breathing. I went out today for a purpose. I'm going to collect some seeds and plant them in the space to see what they can grow. I can rely on them for food in the future, but I still need to think about how to do it. It is estimated that there is no play in being a farmer at home. The old man used to eat in the ground. Knowing the bitterness in it, he can only eat by looking at the sky. Just knowing that there is no future, so the brothers went out together at the beginning, working everywhere, and they mixed up with the right to live in the city and have a well-off family. And if I want to come back to be a farmer, isn't it just slap him in the face? There is no land when I say it, and my mother must also disagree, it is much better to live than farming, and she thinks her son is hard. Where she is willing to let her son come back to farm, here is the face and cannot make it through. Let's talk about the hermit life, farming and fish farming, like in the novel. How old are you, and you've seen through the world, how will you get married in the future? Whose girl is willing to come back to be a farmer with you? Although I know that I will be able to make a lot of money in the future, my parents don't know. Don't you think they will believe it by saying a few words? Based on your performance as a at this time, you may have a low seeing and plan. Forget it, don't think about the 8 characters yet, let's see how things are planted in the space, I'm talking. Jessie Joe thought helplessly. When thinking about things on the road, he unconsciously walked to his third uncle's house, and his third uncle had already gone to the ground. Grandpa Nai stayed at his third uncle's house because he didn't want to leave the country and was taken care of by his third uncle. Several brothers and sisters gave his third uncle a sum of money, as well as the living expenses of the two elderly people. In addition, his third uncle was also filial, and the mother-in-law in the family had nothing to say, and they did very well, so the food and housing were not bad. The old man's Jing head is good and his body is tough. Zijia is here, come in, have breakfast, aunt will lay some eggs for you. The third aunt put down the work in her hands and said enthusiastically. Jessie Joe smiled and said, no need for my aunt, I have eaten it. I drank millet porridge just when I went out. You are busy, I will go see Grandpa Nai. Okay, your father is all in the house, go and have a look, said the third aunt. Oh, I see. The old man in the room had heard the noise outside, and he was very angry and called the grandson in. Joja Xi walked in and saw the old man sitting in a rocking chair smoking a cigarette. Nai was picking vegetables not far away, but also put it down, put his hand on the bib and wiped it, and walked over to see the grandson. Jessie Joe hurriedly said hello when she saw it, and then chatted with the two elderly people. She was also happy to see her grandson and two elderly people. She said that she should not leave at noon and eat here. He called everyone in the family to come and eat together. Joja Xi hurriedly responded, but Joe's father went to the village committee early this morning. He didn't know if he would be back in the afternoon, so he chatted with the two old people about other things. Then he told the old man that he wanted to find some seeds, and said that the old man from a friend's family wanted to plant a little bit, and sent Rizai, because he knew he was going to the countryside, and asked him if he had any. Yeah, I miss these things since I moved to the city. I don't have much energy to raise flowers and plants. I can't eat yet, and it's not easy to live. Grandpa agreed with one sentence very much. Then you go to the cabinet and get some, there are some cabbage, tomatoes, radishes, loofah, eggplant, watermelon, pumpkin, cabbage, cauliflower, greens, etc. to find yourself, Grandpa said to Joja Xi. Oh no, hee, thank you Grandpa, I'll go get some. Joja Xi said happily. Jessie Joe took a bit of everything, anyway, try to plant it, and then go to the seed shop to take a look. Later, Joja Xi's family also came, chatted here, and had a farm meal. The taste is still very pure, although the food is delicious, but Jessie Joe feels tormented. Now he wants to quickly find a place where there is no one, and then go to the space to plant the seeds. Time always feels slow when you want to be fast, but it seems to be fast again when you want to be slow. Let you suffer helplessly. Jessie Joe waited and waited, ate and ate. I also drank a little wine on the table, a little bit drunk. But it doesn't seem to be the same as before, and the amount of alcohol has also improved a lot. After discovering this, Joja Xi became even more secretively amused. She was smiling, but her third sister couldn't help but give him a thud before waking up. The people around also gave it a shot and laughed. Grandpa also said, Sanya still looks like this, haha. The third sister's face flushed. Jessie Joe also muttered, violent women, don't know what you are. His sister almost couldn't help giving it to him again. As soon as Joja Xi saw her movement, she immediately flashed away. Everyone laughed even harder. The table was full of laughter, and the exchange of cups was extremely lively. After all the food was delicious, the family left and went back. Jessie Joe thought it was finally hoped, not easy. Back home, Joja Xi hurried back to the room and locked the door. When the family saw it, they couldn't help but smile. They also went back to rest. After all, they had drunk a lot of wine, or the rice wine made by themselves, the stamina was still quite big. The women also drank some sweet wine, and they were all a little tired. In Jessie Chu's room, Jessie Joe checked and put the curtains up, the lights were also turned off, and he dashed into the space. Stepping on the land of space, Jessie Joe became excited all over, and hurriedly called out the little demon Jings. The little demon Jing who heard the shouting flew over. In fact, the space was empty. They knew when Jessie Joe came in, and were about to fly over to meet him. "Meet the little lord," said the little demon Jings. "Well, I got the seeds. Now try to see them all," Jessie Joe said excitedly. "Yes, little lord." The little demon Jing stood up and said. Jessie Joe took out the seeds, and there were several packets in total. The different types have been divided. They are also called little demon Jing. Don't plant them together, but they are all professional. Where does Jessie Joe need to be reminded? He is the boss, and he said he knew it. The little demon Jing first looked at the seeds, and immediately began to divide the labor. A group of people began to emit green light on these seeds. Some of the seeds absorbed the green light, and some could not. However, there are only a few that cannot be absorbed, just a few. Jessie Joe estimated that it was a dead seed, and nothing could be grown. A team of people went to the fertile land to dig pits and turn the ground, and they also released the green light and began to repair the land so that it was formed piece by piece, and divided into several pieces of land according to the type that Jessie Joe had brought. The little demon Jing here also finished the seeds, and then began to plant them, putting the seeds in the soil according to different types, and then covering them. After that, water was poured on it. The little monsters flew to the river of vitality and filled some water with green light, and moved to the ground where the seeds were planted. Then the carrier formed by the green light suddenly exposed small holes in the middle. "Sprinkle water down like a shower." Jessie Joe couldn't help clapping her hands when she looked at it, and she couldn't help but sighed that his profession is different. This process was not only professional, but also very fast. "I came in from Jessie Joe, then gave them seeds, and then selected the seeds and watered the ground. It really didn't happen, but I didn't know the time just now, and I don't know a few minutes. But if they were citizens, they might still be able to comment on a model worker. They should definitely be able to comment. It is estimated that the mechanization in Lao Mei does not have this speed." After the little demon Jing was done, he came to visit Jessie Joe, and Jessie Joe waved to let them play by themselves, and what they should do. Originally wanted to give a few words or praise. However, the sudden fluctuations in the space made Jessie Joe no longer have any thoughts to praise. This sudden wave comes from the seeds that have just been planted. They are absorbing the things in the space, which may be energy or something, but they are absorbing it anyway. So it caused fluctuations and made Jessie Joe feel it. Jessie Joe began to use her thoughts to sense, hoping to get results, but she didn't expect it. Suddenly the fragments of memory absorbed in the brain appeared a little bit, and the answer could be obtained if Jessie Joe increased the rate of seed absorption. Jessie Joe thought of it and started to do it, but this time he knew it was cautious. He first strengthened the energy supply to a seed, and slowly the seed had begun to germinate, and the emerald green sprouts tore through the seed shell. Grew out, began to stretch the roots down, and slowly pulled out the top of the shell, making it break through the soil. It started to be a little different at this time. This seedling was also absorbing energy, but it was also exhaling a kind of energy. At the moment it exhaled, Jessie Joe suddenly felt a kind of joy. It was a kind of as if I had been expecting it for a long time. The feeling, now it's finally here. Jessie Joe calculated it carefully. According to its breathing method, after inhaling one part of energy, it can release roughly 2 parts of energy transformed by the mother tree. In other words, it has become profitable and can provide energy to the mother tree. Now Jessie Joe understood it. In the future, if you want to expand the space, you must plant more plants. The seeds will absorb a little bit of A, and then release energy B after breaking the soil. The mother tree will absorb B and then exhale A. The mother tree can also grow after absorbing B, and the mother tree will have more space when it is bigger. It becomes a good cycle. At this meeting, Jessie Jo suddenly felt that there was a skill in her mind. It should be a skill, which was also like instinct. Anyway, she would. The name probably means the vitality of the earth. According to that cheating father's memory, he can release the energy he has absorbed in the space to the earth, so that the earth is full of vitality, so that the land will not become nutritionally deficient due to excessive planting. Let plants grow better. Yes, it's a farmer's skill, yet, this dead ghost must be something like a of agriculture, so why don't you give a stone to gold, or large-scale magic, meditation, cultivation techniques, etc., or see-through, stealth? Ah, what kind of supernatural power is okay? Joja Xi thought helplessly. Jessie Jo is typical. If you get a bargain, you still sell well. Just be content if you have this. Think about it when it might be useful in the future. There are no useless skills, only people who don't know how to use them. Thinking about the statements in those novels, Joja Xi is relieved. In this way, after self-examination and self-comfort, Joja Xi became active again. Jessie Jo still doesn't know how useful this skill will be in the future. When that happens, he smiles secretly again, and from time to time he transcends his own character. He looks like a villain, and if the third sister sees it, he will be thrilled. See if he still laughs so badly. Ha ha! After recovering, Jessie Jo began to urge other seeds to produce seedlings, and then they were not catalyzed, because there are not many vegetables being grown now, and there is no need to waste them. When they are rushed to give birth, they don't give them two. You put 2 copies, it won't breathe. Although there is not much waste, it is still unnecessary. There is also a kind of slow seeing, which can still have energy harvest. But when the vegetables are ripe, they will slowly stop vomiting and begin to die. Fruit trees may be better, after all, the lifespan will be longer. Seeing that everything was almost done, Jessie Jo stepped out and went to bed with slippers when he returned to the room. He also yelled, "I'm tired, it feels so good to be lying on the bed." He was dizzy, and he obviously didn't do any work, just watching the little demon Jing's work next to him, and he was tired. I slept until dawn, and stayed in bed for a while. Joe's mother called out the door several times, and Joja Xi reluctantly got up. After tidying up, I went to have breakfast. He was the only one who hadn't eaten on the table, and even his 2 little nieces laughed at him. Jessie Jo was eating, and she asked Joe's mother, "Mom, why are people all gone? You bastard, don't check what time it is. Your sister and the others have already gotten up." After breakfast, they said they wanted to go out and get some fresh air, so you were still asleep. Jo Mew said to Joja Xi. Where did Jessie Jo dared to answer her mouth? She touched the back of her head and smirked. Then he kept eating in his mouth. "Slow down, no one will rob you." Joe's mother scolded with a smile. After staying in the village for 2 days, everyone felt almost the same. After a few days away from the city, the work and the shop had problems, so I couldn't stay there, so I decided to go back. It happened that Joe's father was also busy. "It's almost there, and we are ready to go together." And Joja Xi, these 2 days are almost done, wandering around all day, digging for wild vegetables, or go to someone's house to dig a small sapling, and then break some branches and so on. The space is much more luxuriant now, and a vigorous momentum emerges spontaneously. I was going back that day. The family greeted their relatives and left. When I left, my 3 uncles and aunts, as well as my grandfather Nai, gave a bunch of souvenirs to the people in the village. Everyone in the family held them bag by bag, and even the 2 children brought a lot of things. The family came home full of loads. There was a lot of laughter along the way, talking about the gains of the past 2 days. Everyone was very interested. After all, it is not often that they come back to the countryside, let alone 2 younger children. In the past 2 days, I have been running around the mountains with the children in the village, having fun. The family, after riding for more than 2 hours in the car, finally returned home. After having a simple lunch at home, the eldest sister and the eldest brother-in-law went back to their homes first. Their home was in this community, and it was convenient to walk around. The third sister will go to work in the company 2 days later. The fourth sister will go to work tomorrow, and both of them have booked their tickets. They will leave at night and fly directly to Shanghai. Both of them went to the university over there, so they found a job over there. The two of them are mixing well now. This is something Jessie Joe can't compare. In the evening, Joja Xi helped send the two sisters to the airport, and the two also confessed a few words, saying that they were helping him to see, and then calling him to go to Shanghai for a break. I've gone through a big city, and I don't care about anything else, but my knowledge will definitely be broad. It's almost done, it's just time to board the plane, and the two of them got on the plane. Jessie Joe waved goodbye, feeling a little melancholy in her heart. Because both of them became a family in Shanghai in the previous life, Joja Xi lived the life of an otaku by himself. It also gathers less and divorces more, and it is normal to feel strange after going away. Jessie Joe took the car back home by herself, and went back to the room after eating the leftover dinner specially given to him by her parents. Joja Xi closed the door of the room and entered the space again. At this time, the space was lush and lush. Pieces of vegetables and fruits grew in it, and the little monsters were flying in and out, pollinating the flowering flowers, and inspecting them. The situation. Some of them are resting under the mother tree, and they also pay attention to the combination of work and rest, and work in shifts. When the little demon Jing saw Jessie Joe, one flew over, because Jessie Joe had already greeted them, "Don't fly over every time, just fly over one every time on duty." This time, it happened that the little demon Jing that Joja Xi had seen was called Little Demon. It was originally called number 32, but Jessie Joe found it unpleasant. It didn't look like a name, so she asked her opinion. The demon Jing burst into tears and said, "Finally, I have the power of the demon. I asked if there is a wood? If I can speak, there is a wood. How about calling the little demon in the future, this little demon Jing, but there is no trick to give a name." I cried bitterly and bowed my head. I thought for a while before I agreed. This made Jessie Joe depressed for a while. Jessie Joe had thought about it in her heart, and sure enough, the novel was not all believed. The little demon came to report the growth of the fruit in the space. Now the outer fertile land is full of planting, and there are some subdivided varieties in the vegetable area, melon area, and fruit area. Jessie Joe walked over and took a look. When he arrived at the watermelon area, a watermelon grove was lying in the middle. This watermelon grove was spawned by Jessie Joe. It is now in March. Your watermelons are still on the market for a month or two, and some watermelons on the market are also produced in greenhouses, but they don't taste very good. It doesn't feel like rustling after eating, and it's also expensive while unhappy. Jessie Joe knocked on a melon and felt it was ripe, so she picked it up, and then looked around. "I'm dizzy, I don't even have a place to put it. It looks like I'm going to bring something in next time. Dress it up." "No matter what, I'm talking about eating watermelon first," said Joja Xi. Jessie Joe returned to the room holding the watermelon, found a fruit knife in the drawer, and returned to the space. "When I got to the space, I remembered that I forgot to take the watermelon, and went out and took the watermelon in. Go to the living ground under the mother tree, arrange the watermelon, pick up the fruit knife and insert it, and then slowly move and cut it. After you cut it, you will take a large piece and send it to your mouth. Non-stop." After highlighting the last bite of watermelon seeds, Joja Xi said, "Cool, so delicious, really, so delicious, sweet and delicious, with a lot of sugar, it tastes rusty, a bit like the taste that I had eaten when I was a child." Joja Xi said with emotion. "You all come over, eat and watch together." Jessie Joe said to the little demon Jing. The little demon Jing looked at each other, and then flew over from a distance, and the one by the tree came straight over. "Thank you for the reward." Jiaxi Zhou directly waved his hand and said, "You are welcome to eat, it's mostly your credit for this." Jessie Zhou said in a lavish manner. After eating the watermelon, Jessie Zhou returned to the room and lay on the bed, thinking about where to sell it tomorrow. There are about half an acre of watermelons in the space. They are all local large watermelons with green skin, black stripes and red hearts. As for the variety, Jessie Zhou doesn't know, and it's not professional. It's delicious. There are 500 in total. Many, about 10 catties. My melon is 8 yuan per catty or 10 yuan per catty. It shouldn't be too much. The watermelons on the market are all 4 to 5 yuan per catty. I am so delicious and there should be no problem. Things are vaguely expensive. There are no conditions. If the conditions are good, buddies will not sell it, and directly take it for auction. At that time, it depends on how much I am happy to take out. Little Devil's watermelon is just a black skin. It tastes good. It costs 650,000 Ri for 8 kilograms, which is about $6,100, which is only 16 kilograms. The ingredients you buy can vary depending on the factors, but if you want to have half the price, I'm also satisfied. Forget it, I don't want to get up early tomorrow to sell melons, and go to bed decisively. After thinking about it, Jessie Zhou slowly fell asleep. Early the next morning, Jessie Zhou woke up early, which forced herself to get up. For the sake of money, come on. After screaming, Zhou Jiaxi put on her clothes, tidied up, and took care of herself. Why did Xiaoji get up so early today? I usually don't see you open the door before 10 o'clock. Come over for dinner. Father Zhou said in surprise. Zhou's mother also looked at Zhou Jiaxi strangely, and went to serve Zhou Jiaxi's porridge. Jessie Zhou couldn't help blushing, thinking about her last life, she was really messed up. Jessie Zhou sat down and looked at Father Zhou and said, "My sister is right, I decided to go out and have a look today and see what I am going to do in the future." "Ah, what? You said you want to find a job? It won't be another 3-minute heat?" When Father Zhou heard what Jessie Zhou said, he didn't respond at once, and he was surprised for a while before speaking. "Mother Zhou, who just came out, just heard, what are you talking about? Now that my son knows to be a pan coming, you should still pour cold water." Mother Zhou felt upset and said to Father Zhou. The second sister smiled secretly after hearing this. When Zhou's mother also sat down, Zhou Jiaxi said, "I'll take a look and think about what I'm going to do in the future. I didn't know anything about the jobs that my sisters and others introduced before, and I didn't know what I was involved in. Yes, so it's not interesting to do it, this time I will try it myself." In fact, what Jessie Zhou didn't say is that his sister relationship is not very hard, so they will be squeezed out, and sometimes they are still very angry. The unit had always kept secrets, so he went to file a complaint for a little bit of trivial matters, and Zhou Jiaxi couldn't afford to lose that person. So I don't want to do it. If life in that life were more difficult, Zhou Jiaxi would have to bear it, but it is not that she has no food to eat, and the family is also well off, more than the best. There is really no need to ruin yourself and make a smile. However, this is also used to Zhou Mu since childhood, and has a certain relationship. Well, you know whether you are motivated, then go and see, come and eat more, this is your favorite. Zhou Mu said lovingly. Well, thank you Mom, Mom is the best. Jessie Zhou became cute again. Cough, cough. Zhou's father coughed unpleasantly on his face. Hey, my dad is the best too, come, Dad, eat this. Zhou Jiaxi said to Father Zhou hurriedly, and graciously picked up things to Father Zhou. Mother Zhou looked at it, and also smirked, secretly cursing this old man. Jessie Zhou, after eating, went out in a hurry. This kid, look at that monkey, I learned everything from you. Joe's mother said to Joe's father. Come with you, I remember when you were young, you were so anxious. Father Joe also retorted unwillingly. Seeing this, the second sister hurriedly went back to her room, not following the two of them blindly. Listening to the voice coming from behind became weaker and weaker, Joja Xi also went downstairs. Going out of the door, touching the pocket, there are more than 600 yuan in it, which is considered capital. Joja Xi stopped the taxi and said that he was going to Chaoyang Market, which is the largest market in the city. There are wholesale and retail shops, as well as major hotels where they buy fresh goods. When he got there, Joja Xi rented a temporary warehouse in a remote place nearby, and agreed with the landlord to give it 200 for 2 days. The landlord looked at the warehouse and hadn't rented it out anyway. It was left for nothing, and asked what Joja Xi was going to put. Joja Xi said that it was a watermelon, so he rented it to Joja Xi. But the money must be paid first, and then the landlord writes a receipt to Joja Xi, and this is done. This warehouse is about 20 square meters, and there is a rolling door, but there is nothing in it. The inner market is about 200 meters long, and the way in and out is pretty good and very convenient. Jessie Joe went in and turned on the lights, pulled down the rolling door, and then removed the watermelon that had been picked in the space and put it inside. After it was done, Jessie Joe opened the rolling door, walked out, and quickly closed it again. Joja Xi walked to the market management office to rent a booth, paid the money and gave a card, and Joja Xi left. Then I bought a watermelon knife, bought some big bags, and ordered a tricycle outside. After saying a good price, he asked him to go to the warehouse to pull some watermelons out and transport them to the stall he rented. Ask him to leave a phone call, and if you need it later, call him. At the stall, Jessie Joe remembered that she didn't have a scale. She saw that there were 2 aunts selling vegetables next door, and asked her if she could rent one to him. The aunt took a look at him, she might feel that this young man is not bad, so she agreed. The preparations are done, and we will start selling watermelons. Watermelon, big and sweet watermelon, watermelon, big and sweet watermelon, 10 yuan per caddy, 10 yuan per caddy, fast and slow. Joja Xi shouted. 2. The ant next to me gave me a jump when he heard him sell it. What kind of melons are so expensive? Seeing that no one came over after yelling for a long time, Jessie Joe suddenly felt lost, whether he had bought it more expensively, and whether he should lower the price. Jessie Joe began to doubt himself. Suddenly, Jessie Joe's inspiration flashed. Why am I so stupid? If someone sells watermelons, they have to cut them up and give them a try. The appearance of my melon is okay, but they don't know it's delicious, and they can't even smell it. Joja Xi thought of a way, slapped her hand happily, and went to find a watermelon knife to prepare to cut the melon. Jessie Joe took out a watermelon and set it up, holding a knife to cut it in half, and then the fragrance floated out, slowly spreading outward. Then Jessie cut the watermelon into smaller pieces to make the fragrance radiate better and richer. As if time had stopped, the people around him stopped their movements, turned their heads and looked at him, their noses were still sucking hard, as if they wanted to inhale the scent and explode their lungs. Young man, what kind of melon are you? Why is it so fragrant? The smell is absolutely perfect, the ant next to her said with bright eyes, but there was still a gleam in the corners of her mouth. You can see that she was squeezing and swallowing from time to time. With saliva, his tongue moved at the corner of his lips, trying not to let his saliva stay. The surrounding area seemed to be quiet all of a sudden. The vendors and passers-by both pricked their ears and stared at Jessie Joe without saying a word. They seemed to be afraid that they would not hear what Jessie said. So the weird incident in this market happened. In this area where you can smell the fragrance of watermelon, it seems unusually quiet. Normally it doesn't matter, but compared with the noise of the whole market, it looks a little weird. And these people are still wide-eyed, their noses keep breathing, and the muscles of their ears are stiff. If the skin is whiter, they think it's a resident evil. Joja Xi also showed these people a hairy heart. She couldn't help but swallowed her saliva. She rubbed her hands and said, "Fathers, folks, uncles, aunts, grandpa, nai, brothers and sisters, grandpa and aunts, this is cultivated by our latest technology greenhouse. A new variety of watermelon, which is cultivated after imitating the black-skinned melon of the RI edition. Knowing that the black-skinned watermelon can sell for 6,100 per 16 kilograms, it is still US dollars. We are cultivating in that direction, and now we are first take a batch out to try the market, so the price is not high, maybe in the future. Anyway, I don't think it will be cheaper than this." Everyone was shocked when they heard that a watermelon was worth 6,100, and when they heard it was still US dollars, it was even more remarkable, all with a cry of exclamation. And they were nurtured in that direction, no wonder it's so fragrant. The two old people are gone. They now cherish the time they spend together very much, and want to do a lot of unfinished things in the remaining time. The old man gave Joja Xi a cash check. The 1 million was still US dollars, and he had to leave Joja Xi's phone number. He also said that this was just the beginning. He smiled mysteriously and strangely when he said it. Jessie Zhou was inexplicable. Jessie Zhou was not Lei Feng. If you paid, you would gain. He wouldn't engage in tricks that riches don't want, so he just accepted it without hesitation. The old man also laughed and said that the young man was very simple, not bad. Several people exchanged their names, and the old man left. Jessie Zhou even murmured, "Why don't you even ask me for a meal? I really am of Chinese descent. After a long time abroad, I talk about reality. I don't care about the value of 1 million US dollars." He hummed a random song again, shaking his head in dismay. After receiving the bills, Joja Xi rushed to the bank to withdraw the money, and then asked the manager to deposit the money in her account. "When I was at the bank, Jessie Zhou finally enjoyed a VIP service. Normally, he would have to call up and line up. It was like this time, I went directly to the VIP room." The female manager asked what he wanted to drink. The service was very good. Thoughtful. Of course, in addition to these, the female manager also promoted a lot of things to Joja Xi. "It's almost impossible to sell myself out, but people who eat national jobs are smart people, after all, they are all single plank bridges that have been crossed by thousands of troops, or it is a bit related. So it won't be so ugly for you, a millionaire." So the affair that Jessie Zhou was looking forward to has not come, and Jessie Zhou can only cry silently in her heart, which is different from what is said in the novel. This thing of time is a pickling knife, purple grapes, black fungus, thousands of greens become mature. What's more, even the cherries are purple and the cherries are more delicious than the red ones. Of course, this is in terms of fruit. Only the individual knows the taste of other cherries. Time flew by, and Joja Xi took it at home for a while, but City F was only a small city. It was Joja Xi, a high-end fruit, and later also sold vegetables. These things gradually attracted some people's attention. And in terms of development, this place is still too small. Joja Xi wants to go out and have a career faster, and can provide a steady stream of funds to enjoy her life. During the period, Jessie Zhou told her family about the money she got. According to the Taoist version, this matter caused a sensation. Everyone who listened to it felt that Joja Xi was crazy about money. Until Jessie Zhou took out his mobile phone and turned on the hands-free call to the bank accurately reported the remaining amount of Jessie Zhou's account, and the family confirmed Jessie's words, and the atmosphere suddenly became excited. That day, Jessie Zhou's second sister was so excited that she almost gave birth prematurely. Fortunately, Zhou's mother was very experienced and asked her daughter to adjust her breathing, which stabilized her. The family also calmed down due to the special circumstances. Originally, Jessie wanted to tell them that there might be a follow-up, but depending on the situation, I didn't say anything. It's going to be exciting if you don't wait a moment. Jessie Jo left 5 million yuan to her parents and told them that she could buy some real estate with the money to save her way. He took the rest of the money and said that he was going to a big city for a break. In this way, if you don't mix well in the future, you can still live a good life on rent, at least you won't have to worry about marrying a wife and having children. Joe's father and Joe's mother also thought it was pretty good, staying here to make an insurance investment for his son, and all that was spared would be spent by Jessie Jo, and the rest of the money would be left to Jessie Jo. Go outside to see and see, even if the business fails or runs out of flowers, it doesn't matter. With that insight and funding, you can do anything in the future. Jessie Jo also thought of giving her parents peace of mind so that she could go out and make trouble. After all, they didn't know that they had a space cheating device. According to ordinary people, if all the money is used to invest in the business, it is still very risky. If you lose it, you will lose your money, but you must make a steady profit, and you can't lose it. Jessie Jo is leaving this small city. Looking at the airport that came and went, Jessie Jo couldn't help feeling sad. In her previous life, she was riding a train and was reluctant to fly. After all, the price gap is still very large. Of course, except for the irregular special air tickets, the service is really real. Why not have it? However, there is still a big improvement in BB train. You can't afford the taste of travel time and space. At the airport, Jessie Jo looked at Joe's reluctant expression, then walked over and hugged her. "Mom, I'm leaving, you and Dad must take care of yourself." One pass, but because Jessie Jo always gives her parents vitality water, and their health is very good, these Jessie Jo is not careful. "Okay, I'll tell you everything your mother wants to say, no mother-in-law and mother-in-law. If you don't leave, the plane will fly." Father Joe said helplessly. He saw Jessie Jo's little idea. "Just help him. I kept saying in my heart that this kid had grown up, and that he had done something to comfort people. If you urge you will urge you. I will tell my son a few more words." "You are jealous." Jo Mu also pretended to be rather unhappy, turning her head and saying to Father Joe. She also knew that the child was going to grow up. "There is a day to fly out, but emotionally, I still feel reluctant." Looking at her parents and looking at their faces, Joja Igzi was much better than before, but at this time she couldn't help but feel a little sad. He went over and hugged his father again. "Dad, I'm leaving." "Okay, don't tell me, let's go, when it's time to call. You have to send everything you want to your sister and the others, don't you know, don't go crazy halfway, and come back when you have enough fun outside." Father Joe said. Jessie Jo nodded and agreed, then waved goodbye to her parents and walked into the boarding gate. Joe's father and Joe's mother looked at his son's back and disappeared for a long time before taking back her eyes. After entering the plane, Jessie Jo felt as if a fish entered the sea and went out for 9 days. Although this analogy is a little bit that, as a person who has been living on his own for a long time, it feels good to live with his parents for a period of time, but if you live for a long time, you will inevitably feel uncomfortable and want to return to the kind of unconstrained life. "Life, I'm here for money, waiting for me," Jessie Jo said secretly. When the plane reached Shanghai, Joja Igzi got off the plane and walked silently while pushing the suitcase. After exiting the channel, Jessie Jo saw a woman in fashionable clothes, with short hair and ear-length hair, and the big earrings on her earlobes when she was pushed behind her ears. She had a light makeup on her face, and she had 5 fingers. The nail polish painted with light red SE is very heroic. The other was dressed in casual clothes, fresh and elegant. He wore a hat on his head and tied a ponytail to expose his head. The pale pink suit revealed the lovely atmosphere of Changchun, with a faint smile on his face. People are very quiet. Jiexi Zhou knew it was her third sister and fourth sister at a glance. The third sister and the fourth sister over there smiled and waved, and the third sister kept shouting Jiexi Zhou to hurry up, and Jiexi also smiled and waved, speeding up the pace and walking to them. Go with. When Jessie Jo walked up to them, buddy, come over and show me what's different. The third sister Jo Hui pinched Joja Xi's face and looked again. It hurts, elder sister is merciful, fourth elder sister save me. It will be the same for the billionaires in the future, and it will feel like holding it. Sister, you. Jessie Jo was speechless, and stopped halfway through. Joja Xi and the fourth sister Jolin both made Jo Hui a little bit dumbfounded. Jessie Jo made fun of Jo Hui a few more words, and went out together, and got their beetles at the door. The third sister drove the car and said to Jessie Jo from time to time, how good is Xiaja? Isn't it beautiful? Sister bought it. Take a look at this. Jolin was ashamed of Jo Hui's show-off. Sister, a little sister looks good, look at your show-off. Jessie Jo was also surprised. She thought it was borrowed from a colleague or friend, but she did not expect it to be bought by herself. When did you buy the car, sister? Hehe, I bought it when I knew that you had money. I used to look at you and wanted to save some for you. I'm afraid that you won't find a wife like that in the future. Now you don't need it anymore, so let's have a luxury. Back, haha. Jo Hui said jokingly. When Jessie Jo heard it, she knew that she was not joking. When I remembered the third sister in her previous life, she was very generous to herself. It turned out that she saved it all by herself. Think about the fact that I worried them so much that Jessie Chu's eyes were red. Yet, you kid, as long as you do well in the future, it is the best way to repay us. You know if you are like this. You are still a woman than me, and you are ready to cry. How old are you, ashamed? Hehe, yeah, sisters Xiaja hope you will do well in the future. Fourth sister Jolin also said. Well, I will, Joja Xi said solemnly, looking at them. Also don't think what you said is sensational. I don't have any tears. I didn't close the windows properly and sand was blown into my eyes. Isn't it okay if I lost my eyes? Plus, I didn't have a rest on the plane and yawned a few times. The tears came out, okay. Don't think that I'm moved by what you said. Humph. Jessie Jo wiped her tears and said, otherwise it must be fake, but Jessie Jo wants to hide it. Enter your heart, you don't need to be so sensational. Therefore, if you judge Jo Hui to be like a woman, you can't recognize it. Otherwise, Jo Hui will always make fun of him with this thing. This is not a sister, hehe. When Jolin heard what he said, she gave an expression of visibly distrustful expression, and made Jo Hui, who was driving, a big laugh. Jo Hui, drive your car, drive well, don't laugh so unfairly, and what kind of expression do you have on the fourth sister? Jo Hui said to Jo Hui anxiously and turned her head to face the fourth sister Jolin again. Said.